Hey, it's Zane here. Welcome back. Hope you're having a great morning wherever you may be. And I had a great night last night. I had many people on my Zoom event. If you were there, thank you for joining me. It was a great night, lots of engagement. I know I got a little carried away. I actually went for about 90 minutes instead of 60 because I'm really passionate about Bitcoin and the problems that it solves. And once I get going, it's quite often difficult for me to kind of stop. But anyway, I enjoyed it. I know that a lot of people enjoyed it. I've got some great feedback this morning from those who attended. If you couldn't make it, maybe next time. I'll be hosting these hopefully every month. But today I want to talk about the great reset that's coming, and it's a financial reset that is going to impact all of us in different ways. And I believe that there's going to be winners and there's going to be losers. And you really want to be on the right side of the ledger. And for anybody who's paying attention to what's going on right now behind the scenes, they'll know that this financial reset is coming. There is so much debt in the system. The US government, which is really the main driver of the global economy in so many different ways, there's a lot going on at the moment to restore nationalism and manufacturing, to reduce this globalist agenda that has been going on for too many years now, that has really impoverished the middle class of so many nations. And so we're seeing right before our very eyes the makings of a great reset. And like I said, it's going to impact people in so many different ways. But what I find fascinating is that people are oblivious to what's going on. They don't realize that this debt-based monetary system, how it is actually leaching value from their life. Some people are benefiting greatly from inflation. I know there's people who in the last 5 years couldn't have dreamed that the price of their homes has gone up so much. People who have been tied to assets such as real estate that have been significantly financialized in the last 50 years. They could never have imagined that the price of their real estate would be far beyond its utility value. And this is not a knock on real estate. I'm a real estate investor myself, but it's a key asset class for us to talk about because most Australians have all of their wealth tied to their family home or tied to investment properties. And there are certain policies that were put in place many years ago that have really paved the way for real estate to be financialized as an asset and to be our primary store of value. But all of that is about to change, and I want to try and articulate why for you in this video. But we have to understand that once upon a time, real estate had utility value and its price was reflective of that value. Today, the price of real estate is not reflective of its true value. And, when you consider all of the layers of cost structures involved in a real estate transaction, all of the wasted premium, all of the debt that is created to purchase real estate, you begin to realize that it really is a bubble, and not a lot needs to go wrong in order for that bubble to be popped, to be pricked. And so this is where we are right now, because we've got this digital real estate known as Bitcoin that has come onto the scene, and people are starting to realize that it's actually a way more potent asset class for several different reasons, which I'll get into here. But when we think of real estate, we have to understand that there was a time where real estate's pricing was reflective of its utility value. When 1971, when President Nixon took the US off the gold standard and inadvertently the rest of the world, because up until that time, essentially currency was backed by a commodity known as gold. Since that time, most of the value or the store of value proposition when it comes to assets has found its way into real estate because there have been policies that have enabled that to happen. Banks and their lending structures, their LVRs, their loan-to-value ratios, capital gains tax concessions for investors, the fact that you can have a principal place of residence and not pay any tax when you go to sell it, the fact that we have a floating fiat currency which essentially is backed by nothing other than the trust that we have in it, and in other words, it's pure debt, and the ability of financial institutions to issue credit or debt against those assets has become the main driver of real estate prices around the world. And so what happens when the debt system can no longer function? And we're entering that phase now, and many believe that we're at the end of this 50-year monetary experiment known as fiat currencies. We know historically, if you study monetary history, we know that no fiat currency has ever survived forever. And so many believe that we're at the end of this 50-year monetary experiment where currency is backed by nothing other than the faith that we have and the trust that we have in it and the central bank and the government. But people are losing faith and trust in the central bank and the government. And so Bitcoin is over here, and it enables you to be your own central bank. It is a system based on truth and rules, but it has no rulers that can change the rules. No rulers that can be corrupted. There's a saying in history that states that absolute power corrupts absolutely. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And this is what happens when you give the power of the issuance of currency and issuance of money and you put it in the hands of a select few. The system becomes corrupted, and this is what we have. And it's been a slow burn. It's taken us 50 years to get to this point. The first fractures were seen, in the GFC, when we saw institutions fail. For the longest time, they were handing out toxic loans, and for as long as the party was going, everybody was winning. They were profiteering out of lending to basically anybody that put their hand up for a loan. And when it all collapsed, the lender of last resort came in, the Fed, and they essentially bailed out the bad guys, the guys that were issuing all the toxic loans and profiting from it. And so significant inflation was created. We had QE, quantitative easing, come out of that. The middle class paid the price through inflation. And then we had 2020 come along, and what did they do? They did it all again. And so, we have to understand that this system can and will fail. As Raoul Pal says, he's a macro economic investor and also commentator, one of the best out there, Raoul Pal. And he says that the system broke in 2008 and it's been on life support ever since. And this is what we have to understand. It's all being propped up by debt, and all of that debt is typically flowing into the asset market, mostly real estate, but also stocks, bonds, equities, etc. But Bitcoin is here, and it is enabling all of us to move our capital, to move our economic energy, to move our long-term savings, to move our value into a system that will preserve and protect our energy, our financial lives. And it is repricing real estate at the same time. That's what I find fascinating, is that most people have no idea that the price of their home, when you actually price it in hard money, the hardest form of money that's ever existed, i.e. real estate, they don't realize that the price of their home is actually plummeting. It's not going up. So it's an illusion that your house price is increasing, because when you're pricing it in an infinite currency that is being inflated into oblivion, you feel good. You think that life's good because you feel like you're getting richer because your house price is going up in a currency that is actually worthless. But when you start pricing your home in a commodity that is fixed and finite and is a true store of value like Bitcoin is, it's a light bulb moment, because all of a sudden you realize that the price of your home is actually falling at a very rapid rate. And so Bitcoiners know this. They know when they start really studying Bitcoin and the fact that it represents the world's true first global free market, when they understand that Bitcoin is imposing this new set of monetary rules on the world, and most people have no idea about it, most people don't realize it yet, this is when you really start paving the way towards Bitcoin. This is when you really start moving your life towards Bitcoin, when you start wanting to live on a Bitcoin standard. And yes, it takes time. Like I said last night, there's 3 reasons why people typically dismiss Bitcoin. Number 1, it's a paradigm shift. Imagine plugging your financial life into a system that is a true free market. In other words, it is deflationary, where prices fall to the marginal cost of production because of economic efficiencies, because of economies of scale, because of entrepreneurship, because of competition. All of these technologies, the price of everything should be going down, not up. Why is it that a loaf of bread in 1989 was, $1.50 and today it's $5? Like, it makes 0 sense. Haven't we got more efficient at producing bread? And so, the world doesn't want to hear this, because the world is plugged into an infinite Ponzi scheme known as the fiat currency system, and they're more than content to go to sleep at night knowing that their house price has gone up 8% this year, but they don't realize that they're a part of a system that is actually collapsing. And so this is the point that I really like to get across. When you start moving over to Bitcoin, you realize that it is a paradigm shift, because it is inherently deflationary. In other words, the price of everything falls around you, including real estate, houses, over time. And so this is the place to be spending your time and energy. The other reason why people dismiss Bitcoin is because it's really easy to listen to something somebody said on the news, something that a politician said, something that your best mate at the pub said about it. It's a bubble, it's a Ponzi scheme, it's bad for the environment, the government's going to ban it, all of these different narratives that are spun around Bitcoin. And so instead of you actually challenging that notion and doing some work yourself, you just hang on to it and you do nothing about it. And I've been guilty of this in the past, and it's why it took me 5 years to actually see the light and to actually get involved in Bitcoin. I heard about it in 2013. It wasn't until 2018 that I actually got involved. But it took work. It took a curiousness and a willingness for me to go on a hunt for learning, and that's what Bitcoin does. I'm still learning to this day. I'm still leveling up how I'm securing my Bitcoin, how I'm planning for the future. There is so much to learn in the Bitcoin space. You can never know it all. And this is why I always say, learn enough to know that it's the solution, which really shouldn't take you that long, maybe 5 hours of study, if you're open-minded, and take the first step, no matter how small. Continue your learning, get comfortable with the process, and then just grow your stack, grow your knowledge, grow your mindset around your worthiness to become financially free. And that's really the journey of being a Bitcoiner. That's what it's all about. But yes, people dismiss it because they jump to conclusions, and then of course they're not prepared to actually do the work. Bitcoin requires proof of work. It requires you and I to continually study, and I can't think of anything more important for us to be studying than this monetary system that we're a part of, that impacts our life in every way you can imagine. I mean, all of our life is dependent on our ability to generate income and to create financial security and financial freedom for ourselves. I'm sure you would agree with that. If you really think about the behaviors and the habits of your day and how they revolve around your ability to actually generate income to survive and also to thrive, I'm sure you'll agree that it's pretty important. And so we need to move from a system that is infinite, that has been corrupted, that is debt-based, that is collapsing, and we need to move over to a system that is based on truth and integrity and trust, that is verifiable, and that enables us to preserve and protect and to grow our economic value over time, and also to be able to contribute in a more meaningful way to the world. So that was a rant for today, but this is what happens with me. I get carried away at times. I hope you don't mind. I didn't really have a topic for this video other than to just hit record and just see where it went. Hope you got some value. Hope you got some insight. Please leave me a comment, anything you want to share. Like the video if you haven't already, and please remember to subscribe if you want to hear more from me. And I appreciate you being here. Have a great day. This is Zane signing out. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.